The Nanny with Ringing Ears and a Stubborn Hip. Ingrid was one of the sweetest clients I ever worked with. She always had a smile on her face and a positive attitude that reminded me of my children's kindergarten teacher. She was a Dutch nanny in her mid-30s who supported a girl with special needs and her two busy working parents. Ingrid's personality exuded happiness and positivity, but her body was littered with repressed childhood traumas and the ongoing stress and anxieties of a young mother trying to care for the incredibly complex needs of a child that was not her own. She was a thin, fit woman with emotional holding patterns that seemed to reside in her chest, jaw, and hips. I could tell how stressful a week Ingrid had by how forward her shoulders braced and how poorly she breathed. I commonly observe clients who appear overtly calm and laid back tend to process their stress much more physically than the clients that appear to be a flustered, anxious mess. Ingrid managed to put on a happy face and support everyone around her while her needs were never addressed. The result was a constant pain in her jaw, ringing in her ears, and a hip that just wouldn't let go. Objectively, there was nothing physically wrong with Ingrid, but her lived experience in her body consisted of a perpetual high-pitched ringing sound as a background noise to everything, a face that hurt if she ate anything remotely chewy, and a left hip that locked to the point that she had trouble getting on her bike. My job was to make her feel better in 30-minute appointments every couple weeks over a few years, but it became evident her physical symptoms were strongly rooted in her emotional experiences that I didn't have the capacity to help her with. Ingrid and I found that a combination of IMS, visceral manipulation, and talking through how she was subconsciously internalizing all her stress collectively kept her symptoms under control, but serious life events could derail all our progress easily. I felt the reaction in her body when the girl she was caring for had health problems, and the child's busy parents neglectfully left it for Ingrid to deal with. I witnessed her quietly get pregnant and have a miscarriage without taking any time off work. I saw her whole body relax when she finally did book some time off and returned to her small town in the Netherlands for 2 weeks. The tension in her body and her subsequent symptoms were a barometer for her life stress, and quite regularly, the intensity of her symptoms became her primary life stress, which propagated a vicious cycle of physical and emotional trauma. Ingrid also worked with a counselor, but she had more success with physical therapy because she had a hard time accessing the physical experience of her stress through dialogue. I believe both therapies were important to her, but when her body passed a certain level of tension, there was just no talking it away. I held the capacity to dramatically decrease the tone in the muscles around her shoulders, neck, rib cage, and hips by using IMS. Visceral manipulation helped her feel and let go of the tension she held around her heart and lungs. Once her body relaxed, she could better mentally process her past, present, and future, and started identifying the triggers in her life that sent her back into the cycle of discomfort and pain. Ultimately, Ingrid realized she had to cut ties with the girl she was raising as a nanny and move back home to look after her own needs. The life she created for herself in Vancouver was just not good for her long-term health, and the only way she could break the cycle was to physically move away. I believe it was the best decision she could have made for herself, and I supported her until the day she left. Ingrid is a good example of why we should understand how powerful the role of stress is on our physical bodies, and not jump to pathologizing the symptoms we experience. Physical states of discomfort breed fear in people and push them into the medical system to undergo tests and awkward assessments that often create more fear and stress, rather than identifying a genuine problem. Individuals need to understand their body's messages, and healthcare professionals must understand the person behind the symptoms, and not just push interventions such as prescription pills. In my experience, tinnitus, or ringing in the ears, is most commonly a product of stress-based tension in a person's neck, head, and jaw, creating a mild nerve irritation in the inner ear. It can often be alleviated with some dry needling, manual therapy, and mindfulness on posture and stress. I've also observed that most people tend to hold emotional tension around their heart and lungs, and that has a direct impact on the mobility and comfort level of their neck and shoulders. We are all familiar with the tight, sore muscles in our necks that we can physically touch, but we tend to underappreciate that the deeper areas of our body tug and pull too. Your heart rate and rhythm, as well as your breathing pattern, will respond to the stresses you experience, both physical and emotional, and they hold the capacity to create tension, pain, and dysfunction in your body without having anything medically wrong with them.